I'm here to share with you all of the books I read in May. Hello everyone, so like I said, today I'm here to talk about all of the books I read in May, which is not a lot, but actually looking at the stack, I'm feeling pretty accomplished because, as I've said time and time again, I will stop talking about it soon, I promise. I moved this month, so I didn't read as much as I wanted to. I wanted to read like 10 and 12 books. I actually read 7 books, so I think that's actually pretty good in the life events I had this month, so I'm counting that as a win. As always, I'm going to start out with my least favorite book, working up to my favorite. I did review some of these, so I will link those down below as well. I think I've done one matchup review, and I'm planning to do another one with the other 3 books I've read. I don't know. Before I even begin into it, I am still currently reading one book. I am counting it into my 7 because I am filming this like 3 days before May ends, so I know I will finish it before May. I just don't know when I'm reading it, so that's why I'm putting it first. And that is Aurora Rising by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I'm about, how many pages am I into this? This is like 500 pages. I'm on page 250, so I have halfway to go pretty much. So I have full confidence that I can finish it before May ends. I don't know when I'm reading it. Right now, I think I'm sitting at a 3 or 4, honestly, which I don't know is a good or bad thing. It's very slow moving. I will tell you what this book is about. Sure, I forget what year it is, honestly. It's 2380, and we follow like this space academy, and we follow a guy named Tyler Jones, who is becoming his like squad leader, and he's gonna have his own squad and things like that. But then but then before he can pick his own squad, he saves this one girl, Aurora, out in like this abandoned spacecraft and brings her on board, and he gets a squad assigned to him. And basically, I would say in a nutshell, this book is about like kind of a renegade, just kind of a squad that's not really meant to be a squad. Like, they're all kind of got their downfalls, but they're put together and they have this big mission set before them and have to hide a refuge and things like that. Overall, I like it. I think a lot of people, including myself, will go into this comparing it to the Illuminae Files, which is their other series they wrote together, which I loved. Very different from that series because, number one, this is a lot of dialogue in it. Illuminae was told it just strictly like dossiers, emails, texts, and things like that. So a lot of multimedia. This book is a lot of dialogue with a little bit of splices on multimedia. It's mostly just kind of told as a regular book following a whole bunch of different people. Overall, I'm liking it. I'm not loving it. It's kind of slow moving and has its ups, it has its downs. I do like the characters. So overall, I'm thinking right now, hopefully by the time I edit this, I will know definitively what my rating will be. I'll put it right here. But I would say I don't love this nearly as much as Illuminae Files. I might continue on with the series. I might not. I'm still kind of undecided and up in the air because it is kind of a slow-moving book, hence why I haven't finished it yet. Now let's get on to the books I actually have finished. So starting out with my least favorite in the month is Meet Cute by Helena Hunting. This book is the epitome of misleading cover. So this book, we follow a character named Kaylin, and she has been to law school. She met this famous actor Dex, also in law school. He was a very famous actor when he was younger. Kind of think of like, I don't know, Growing Pains, Family Ties, things like that. One of those family generic 90s shows, if you will. And now he wants to be a lawyer. So they go to law school together. They become friends, and then this big act of betrayal happens, or they're not friends anymore. That's not really elaborated on. You just know kind of that in the beginning of the book. Now, years later, Kale is a lawyer, and she meets Dex again because he needs her help because his parents have recently died, and he has now custody of his 13-year-old sister, and so he needs like a family lawyer to help him. And so they develop a relationship. It's also about grieving because his parents have died and things like that. So I say this is misleading cover because it looks sugary sweet, super cute, and there were moments of that, but this book is a lot deeper. It's a lot about grief and a lot about, you know, being thrust in the world of parenthood when you're not ready, you know. Dex did not expect, his name is Dax. Oh, his name is Dax, not Dex. Whoops. Not expecting to have custody of his 13-year-old sister. He was not, you know, expecting that at all. So he was thrust in the world of parenthood. He's also grieving his parents, and he also has to deal with his sister who's grieving her parents as well, while also kind of navigating this relationship with Kaylin. So overall, I give this book a 2 out of 5. I wanted more from it. I thought it was going to be super sweet. I like the depth that's in it, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like the cover is very misleading to what the book is about. Other than the cover, I just didn't love the plot. The plot was very kind of slow moving. I didn't really love the characters. I especially didn't love this whole like big, you know, betrayal that Kaylin hated Dax for years and years, and was something so minute and like not big at all. And I was just like, really? Like, that's what we're gonna get upset about? But that's just me, 2 out of 5. So I'd say if you like are looking for a super cute chick lit book, I would maybe kind of steer clear of this one. I don't know. Next up, I have Warrior of the Wild by Trisha Levenseller. I read this book right in the middle of a slump. So when I moved, I didn't read for like 2 weeks straight. So I will say this is a great book to get out of a reading slump. I gave it a 3 out of 5, a solid middle of the road book for me. This is a standalone YA fantasy as far as I know. I think it's a standalone. I think it finished as a standalone, so I'm just gonna call it a standalone. We follow a character named Rasmira who is a Viking pretty much, and she is in her village and she is going to be set to take over her dad's place when she passes her trial. She's gonna like be the leader of the village and the warrior clan and things like that. And her trial happens and it gets sabotaged, so she actually gets banished out into the wilderness and she has to complete this task of killing a god that is like unkillable in order to get back to her village. While she's in the wilderness, she meets 2 other boys that have also been banished for not completing their trials as well, and they kind of team up together and things like that happen. Overall, I would say if you're looking for just a quick, fun YA fantasy with not a lot of depth and plot to it, this is a great book for that. Oh my gosh, I hate that I'm bashing. It helped me get on my reading slump, I will say that, because it was action-packed. There wasn't a lot to really get my mind involved in. Like, some fantasies, with me in particular, I have to really concentrate because I don't do so well with a ton of information being thrown at me. I have to take it slowly. This one doesn't have that much information. You could just read it quickly. It's just a fun, kick-butt female book that I enjoyed. I liked that it was a standalone. The romance was okay, not the best. Overall, like a 3 out of 5. It's not the strongest YA fantasy I've ever read by any means, but it's not the worst. I'd say it's just a middle of the road one, honestly. Next up, we're going to go into my 4 stars. I have quite a few of those. The first one being The Bride Test by Helen Hoang. It's a companion novel to her book, The Kiss Quotient, which I read last year, and it was one of my favorite books. So this one follows another character from that series. Follow a character named Kai, who is on the autism spectrum, and he is really happy with his life. He doesn't really see that he needs a ton, but his mom wants to set him up with a woman, so she goes home to Vietnam, finds a girl, brings her home, and she kind of makes them be together, like, you know, things like that, which I didn't love. But basically this book follows Kai and Esme as they navigate the relationship and things like that. I did not like this one as much as The Kiss Quotient, which really breaks my heart because I loved that one. I had some problems with this one. I go into more detail in my review, but basically there was a big secret that Esme, the main character, was hiding that I did not like at all. Not okay to do that. I also didn't love that we really, you know, Esme learned that Kai had autism and she didn't really do any research. She was like, okay, I don't know what that is, and that was it. And I was just like, what? Like, she accepted it, which is great. I think that's awesome, but I wanted her to learn more about it. I also felt the romance was kind of forced because from the beginning of this book, you know that the mom has brought home a bride for his son, which is feeling forced already. So I didn't love that. It didn't flow. The romance didn't flow as easily as it did in The Kiss Quotient. So yeah, I have a couple of qualms, but overall, I love the writing style. I love the autism representation of this book, and I will always read Helen Hoang's books. I really enjoy her writing style. Her romance is good, the steaminess is good. Overall, I would recommend it. I just didn't love it as much as The Kiss Quotient. Next up, we have There's Something About Sweetie by Sinan Menon, the only YA contemporary book I read this month. I have read all of her books before. She wrote When Dipple Met Rishi and From Twinkle with Love, and this by far is my favorite. I fell in love with this book. I really wanted to give it a 5 out of 5, but I just don't feel like it was that. I think I'm just too harsh on YA contemporaries, if you want me to be honest. But I adored this book. We follow 2 characters. We follow Sweetie, who is a plus-size track runner, and Sweetie is just the best. She is very confident in her body, and she's confident in her friends and her life. Her parents, more particularly her mom, doesn't really approve of her weight and kind of frowns upon her a lot, which really upset me. I also follow Ajish. Hopefully I said that right. And that is actually Rishi's brother from Dipple Met Rishi. So basically, Anish's parents want to set him up, and they set him up with Sweetie, and they date, and they kind of develop a relationship after that. So overall, I love this book. It is a sugary, sweet, and cotton candy YA contemporary, and I love those, honestly. I love Sweetie and how self-assured she was of who she was and how she accepted her body, and she didn't care if other people accepted her because she was happy with herself, and that's all that mattered. Except for her mom. She really wanted her mom's approval a lot, and she didn't get it, and that made me upset for her because I feel like I've been there. But the characters, I love the romance, I love the representation. This was just overall so adorable. It's, I think, gonna be forever my favorite Sinan Menon book because it was so cute and I loved it. And my last 2 favorite books of the month, the first one of that being The Devouring Grey by Kristen Lynn Herman. Sorry, it's a mouthful. I buddy read this with a couple of friends as well. I buddy read The Bride Test with Julie as well. I'll link them all down below. I should mention that. I'm horrible. I'm sorry. Please forgive me, friends. So this is a YA paranormal book that reads very much like a contemporary book to me. We follow this town, which is called, oh my gosh, what is this town called? Four Paths. And we follow newcomer Violet, who is coming to live in Four Paths. She has never been there before, but her mother grew up there. And she comes home and she learns more about Four Paths and how it was founded by these four families, and basically she is a part of one of the families that founded it. She meets three other characters as well. Justin Hawthorne, whose family also, you know, helped founded this town. Harper Carl, and two other people that I forget their names. They're not on here. But basically this town is magical. There's like this beast that hides out in the gray, which is kind of like in the town, but not really. I'm doing a horrible job of explaining this. What else is new? And basically the four families that founded this town have these powers to help kind of control the beast and things like that. So you have these four teenagers that are part of the founding families, and they each have different powers, and they, you know, some families don't get along with each other, some families, you know, pair up with each other, but basically a threat happens and they kind of have to band together and learn more about the beast and about their town. And yeah, that's a horrible job of explaining it. I hope that's okay what I did. I don't know. I will do a review on this very soon, but I really enjoyed it. This book has a lot of mixed reviews. A lot of people did not like it. A lot of people loved it. I loved it. I think if you are a fan of Riverdale, of Stranger Things, or Vampire Diaries, this is a great book to read because it's got that mystical small town with a very paranormal setting. We have these families that are steeped in history with all of these like trials that they have to do to get their magic and things like that. We have these families that kind of, you know, align myself with this family and we're allies, and we kind of see this other family as rivals, and we have this town that kind of knows something's up, but like they're still there anyway, which is a lot of towns and a lot of shows. I feel like people know not the best things happen there as far as paranormal stuff, but they stay there anyway. But I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I will definitely be continuing off the series. I love the way it ended. I love the characters. I found it very intriguing, and this is a perfect book to read in the fall. Highly recommend it. And the last book I want to talk about was my favorite of the month, and that is The Unhiding Moon by Christina Lauren. This is an adult chick lit book, and I love reading Christina Lauren books. They are 2-author comprised as one, and I love this one. This is a great hate to love romance. If you're a fan of hate to love, this is the book for you. So this book we follow a character named Olive, whose twin is getting married, and she basically loves her twin. She's happy for her twin, but she's paired a lot with the best man, who is who is going to be the groom's brother, and she kind of loathes him. They do not get along at all. And then the wedding happens, the reception happens, there's a lot of fish eaten there, and Olive and the best man do not eat it, but everyone else does, and they get really sick because of toxicity or, I don't know, food poisoning, something like that. So basically, Olive's twin sister cannot go on her own honeymoon, so she decides to send Olive and Ethan, the groom's brother, instead, so they can go on their honeymoon, because they might as well, because they won't be able to. So basically, Olive and Ethan have to pretend that they're in love, that they're on their honeymoon, and of course you can guess what happens. Feelings that are, you know, have been kept away for a while come up, and they fall in love, and it's just really cute. I love a good hate to love book. That is my favorite trope of all time. I just love when two people at the beginning of the book loathe each other, but by the end they're like so in love and so enraptured into each other. I love this book. Overall, I gave this book 5 out of 5. I loved it. It's definitely, I don't know if I love this one more than Josh and Hazel. I might, just because Josh and Hazel was kind of a friends to lovers. This is a hate to lovers. I just adored it, but highly recommend it. It's also a perfect summer beachy read. Like, goodness me, look no further than a summer beachy read right here for you. Those are all the books I read in May. Overall 7, not too bad at all for me for, you know, what happened this month, but I'm hoping to read a lot more in June and the rest of the year, because I feel like these past few months I have not read a ton, which is totally okay, totally normal, but I'm ready to read a ton because my TBR shelf like is screaming at me like I need to read more. So if you've read any of these books, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.